Welcome to another Dragonlance Hangout. It is Kirinor Dark Ember the 12th. I'm your host, Adam. Hi. I would like to take a moment and thank the DragonLance Saga members and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the links in the description below. You can also become a patron on Patreon. That helps this channel out a lot. I really appreciate those of you who do consider that. Now, you can also pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate links. I'm starting this up as like a weekly, just a hangout, just something so that we can all kind of get together, riff a little bit about Dragonlance, not necessarily update news or anything, but just kind of BS about Dragonlance for a little while. It won't ever go over an hour in length, but you know, if we want to just sort of riff a little bit back and forth, we can always do that. Got a couple things planned that I want to sort of talk about, but other than that, I'm totally open for whatever. Chris, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. You missed these hangouts? Yeah, they're always fun. I've got to get more people in on them as far as like this side, the camera side of things, usually than just one person as a talking head. It's a little bit more fun, I think, when you got multiple faces to point at. I don't know, maybe throw darts at your TV screen. Is that what people do? First and foremost, my hosting provider straight up said that I'm using way too much bandwidth, like storage on my server, and I have an incredible amount of storage. So what that were the videos, the SoulForge videos of the Choose Your Own Adventure book that I converted to video and then put on my web. Well, let me just show you. It's easier to show you than it is anything else. So on my website, I have the SoulForge Live Play, which actually has each and every book. The entire The SoulForge Choose Your Own Adventure book game book on it. And it's a little playlist. So when it says turn to, entry 72, you just click here and you go down to entry 72, and then you play that. The first beginnings of and it'll go through the whole game book that way. And then you can, of course, do any rolls here that you would need to roll. And of course, you have Raceland of Solace, and you can track any of your points right here as you sort of need to. And of course, mark on what spells you have. And this will only save it if you don't leave the web page. So you can play this whole game, and it has all the explanations on one side about what the spells are, what they do, how to use them in the game book, and all that stuff. And then, of course, we've got the spell resolution table, which tells you what page to go depending on what page you start from and what spell you use, and then just general information about the actual game book itself. So a lot of really fun stuff that I hope people have enjoyed in the past, but I've had to remove those videos from my server because, again, there's like 226 videos, and that's a lot of storage. And so I took them all down, and I'm re-uploading them to YouTube, and fingers crossed, YouTube will not block me or ban me or demonetize me for doing it, because I put all of these videos together. I recorded them, I produced them, and everything. So it's not like I'm using anyone else's except for the game books information. I'm definitely turning it to my own, need. But, making it my own thing. But it's all to say that you can play it on my website. The link is actually dlsaga.com/the Live Play. You can just go up to the search field and just type in SoulForge or something like that, and it'll come up. So you can actually play it right now, but there are a few of the, what are they called? Videos that I'm still updating. So there's 26 more to go. I'll have it done by tomorrow. So if you want to spend some time on Saturday or Sunday playing it, by all means, go ahead and do so. Just know that all the videos are now hosted on the YouTube channel rather than my website, and that's just so I can continue to have audio files on my website, as in podcasts. So every single one of the actual plays, every single one of the lore videos and review videos and everything I do, I make audio versions of, and I put it out as audio playlists. And you can actually see It's from like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and all that stuff. So anyway, that's kind of fun. Hey, Soulforge, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. You should definitely be playing that game. Goldmoon, how you doing? It's always good to see you. No rats tonight. This is, or not rats. No scorpions tonight. This is a scorpion-free zone. I'm making that clear. So have you guys ever played the Soulforge game book? It's actually really hard, and it's entirely dependent on the choices you make, the spells you use, and the randomness of rolls like Dungeons and Dragons normally is. And I have thought about, what if I do, because there's only 4 Dragonlance specific games like this, though there is the Dragon Wand of Krynn, which is a 2-player, so there's like 5 game books. I've debated on whether I should go through and digitize all the others, but the reality is that it took me months to do this, and it's a lot of effort for very little to no reward. It takes a lot, you know what I mean? So it's definitely something that, I like the idea of doing it until I actually start doing it, and then I'm like, why am I doing this? Yeah, no scorpions. Period. Too much poison in their veins. Too many natural 20s for me. You're about to get it for your birthday. That's awesome. That'll be really cool. Don't forget the bookmark. If you need the bookmark, it's downloadable on my website as well. So it depends on the, how used it is, whether the bookmark's going to be inside of it. But the bookmark is basically just this Raceland card that you would then write on with pencil. So it's definitely something to check out if you ever want to. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and really the only thing I wanted to talk about other than just letting you know about the Soulforge game. Hey, Cozen had a Pintura. I said perfectly. From Brazil. Nice. How's the weather down there? It's pretty chilly here. No snow, but it's chilly. I imagine it's warmer in Brazil. Probably. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because there's not any news and it's more of a hangout styled discussion than a news discussion, it's this. Yeah. From Dan Ayub. When I took over D&D, I had some very specific folks I wanted to bring back to the table. Today, I had the honor of welcoming those folks back. Amazing things ahead. Joe Maganello, Margaret Wise, Tracy Hickman, Wizards, D&D, Dungeons, and Dragons. So, I know many people have talked about this already, and there's tons of videos about it, as if there was some sort of news that was announced, which there isn't. There is no news. There's no announcement about anything. So everything that has ever been said about this meeting, about that meeting, is pure speculation. That doesn't mean you can't have fun with it, right? So, rather than having it in the news show that I'm going to be running on Friday, why not hang out and talk about it? So, what do you guys think is the outcome of them getting together with Wizards of the Coast? We know that Wizards of the Coast is flailing a bit because their 2024 edition is not selling as well as their previous editions. It's not doing as well in general. We know that they're targeting an audience that really, by and large, doesn't exist with the game and the approach of the game, which is why it's selling poorly. And so you kind of got to ask, what is it that they're trying to do by bringing Dragonlance? And what if... Okay, so there's a couple different things. There's film, TV series, gaming products. We already know they're doing books, so it can't be books. So it's got to be gaming products, a TV series, or a film. Those are the 3 options that I can think of. If you can think of anything else, then please let me know. They were already writing their next trilogy about Magius and Huma, the War Mage. And so unless it's a whole new trilogy that they haven't announced in cooperation with Wizards of the Coast, I don't think that's what it is. But that is possible. Another intro by Joe. Yeah, because that intro to the Chronicles was just so meaningful. It's so funny because, I mean, people love fandom. You know, they get excited when they see a star. And that's really what the benefit of Joe Manganiello's involvement in any of this is that he's a TV and movie star. That's why he has why anyone's paying any attention to him at all. The fact that he games, so what? We all game. The fact that he's handsome, I don't think that's the entire reason why people give a damn about him. The only reason is because he has a passion for Dragonlance and he's famous. He's a celebrity. So that's the only reason why anyone cares about him at all. And that's the only reason why he wrote a foreword to the Chronicles re-release. That's the only reason why he was involved with Tracy Hickman's Aberrax, Air Raiders of Aberrax, or whatever his D&D 2024 started as D&D 5th edition gaming product was released with him on it. The only reason. I personally don't care about stuff like that or people like celebrities or anything like that. They mean nothing to me. They have no bearing on my life. I don't get any semblance of enjoyment for them being involved in any hobby that I'm in because I'm the one enjoying the hobby. I don't care if other people enjoy it or not. It's just not meaningful to my life. And so his involvement in this picture is either a way of them to what I like to call borrow equity. They're trying to borrow the equity of Joe Manganiello as a celebrity to add his sort of gravitas to whatever is going to happen. Or he's just attached at the hip to Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman because of the other stuff that they're having him involved with. And so they just bring him along just as a plus one. Not that he has anything to do with it at all. And so we have to face the reality that he either has nothing to do with this get together because he was not mentioned about bringing Dragonlance. He has nothing to do with Dragonlance, like at all, other than wanting to do a live action series that isn't happening as far as we know. So the only thing that it could possibly be, in my opinion, to have him there is simply because he was a plus one. They're like, hey, Wizard of the Coast asked us to go, as if I'm Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. They asked us to go. Do you want to go with us, Joe? And Joe was like, F yeah, let's do this, bro. I assume he talks like a dude, bro. So they all went together. And then they got the photo op because the D&D people wanted to get a photo op with a celebrity. I really think that's exactly what it was. But let's say maybe it's not. And if it is like a book series, what do you guys think the book series would be that would have anything to do with Manganiello? Like, he's not an author. He doesn't write. He just plays games and acts, you know? That's all we know of. Supposedly he has an amazing script, but no one's actually seen it to give it a review. So we don't actually know if it's good or not. All we have is him saying that other people think it's amazing. That's not the same as other people saying it's amazing. So we have to make sure that's clear too. It's definitely leading to fans to say promising things to come or whatever. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with the photo and the tweet, or I don't know, wherever they posted this, Facebook or something. But what is that something? What is it? If they do a live action show, they should let the host of the #1 DL YouTube channel be an extra. That would be awesome. Oh, that would be awesome. I would definitely shave my beard into a Salamnic stash and grow it out for that. 100%. Could be them reviving the supposed pilot. See, I want to talk about that because I like that idea. I like the idea of there being a series. Now, would you guys prefer an animated series or a live action series? And let's just sort of riff a little bit on both of those. If it's animated, it's infinitely less expensive. And so you can visually do a lot more, a lot more grand and craziness. So with Witches of the Coast being super duper cheap, if they were to do a live action TV series, I feel like it would definitely be animated and not live action, simply because they just don't have money. They're not selling products very well right now. So they just don't have the capital to do that. And I don't think Hasbro, especially after the last D&D movie, not doing as well as they expected it to, I don't see them footing any money out there for it. So especially for Dragonlance, which has never had a good track record with film releases because it's had one animated film which tanked. So, there's no universe I could see them doing a live action one without like big name actors involved and a studio like HBO or something. Giggles Clinton, how you doing? You say live action. Henry Cavill would be a good Sturm Brightblade. He would be a buff-ass Sturm Brightblade. Oh my gosh. I would almost rather see Henry Cavill as Verminard, because he's so big and monstrous. I think he would make a great Verminard. Or even Ariakan, maybe just tease him for future installments. I'm a huge Henry Cavill fan. Not more than anyone else, but I like him. I thought he was great as Superman. And I think he would do a lot to draw people to the series just with his name. But I would like him to be around for a while. And he's a little too buff, in my opinion, for Sturm. I just never imagined Sturm as like jacked. And the fact that if it is the live action TV series that Joe Manganiello was producing, we have to remember that he was saying that he couldn't even play any of the Heroes of the Lance because they're all kids. They're all teenagers, They're like on the brink of adulthood. And so, except for Flint, of course. And so they all have to be like 18 years old-ish in age. And so you could get actors in their mid-20s to play them, but you couldn't really go into the 40s because then you're like, well, that's clearly not age correct. That's crazy. So it is really interesting on how to approach it. The one thing giving you any hope for live action is that WotC exec Dan Ayub has said that he wants to steer D&D brand to more video media, but that video can mean animated. Like, I honestly think the only way we're getting a Dragonlance series full stop is if it's animated. Because if it's live action, it's going to cost tens of hundreds of millions of dollars on a hope of it doing well. And I just don't see any tightwad executive greenlighting that. I mean, I would because I love Dragonlance, and I know it would do well. But if you're an idiot executive who doesn't know anything about the IP, who doesn't even know anything about D&D, who's, he's just in charge of Hasbro and he has to greenlight the money, he's going to be like, no, I see no indication that this would do well. D&D itself isn't doing very well right now. Why would I greenlight a D&D movie right now? So I just can't imagine it. Who do you think would be a good Tasselhoff? Nowadays, I just don't know enough young actors, to be quite honest, to even, maybe, who did I just see? I don't know. What do you guys think? I have no idea. Because even people like Andrew Garfield, he's an old man now. He's a grown man. And yes, Tasselhoff is supposed to be a Kender, and so he looks older, but he's got to be kind of diminutive and, small and wiry, like the height of a child. So they would either have to do some funny camera work like they did with Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings films, or, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. You think they should animate it like they animated Castlevania? I heard a lot about Castlevania being awesome, and I have never watched it. So I'm going to have to do that. All right, I'm going to scroll back up to see what the other ones were. The other comment. All right, let's see. Hopefully they start doing the TV series, probably the next trilogy of books. Best case scenario, a live action show for sure. Start the fan cast website back up. If they do a live action show, let's see. It's definitely leading to fans to say promising thing to come. If they did an animated show, I think they should do it like DC does their animated shows, or like Critical Role did. Because I thought Critical Role did a great job with their animated show, or are doing a great job with their animated series, and I would really like to see that. See, I am just an idea of me. Thanks for tuning in. Elliot Page. I don't know who Elliot Page is. I'm going to look him up. Elliot Page. Oh, her. She is short, and in her more recent images, yeah, she definitely has like the lines of aging, but you can always add that in after the fact. I think she'd be a pretty good one. Good looking Tasselhoff as far as Tasselhoffs go. I think that's a good choice. turn it into an anime. I just don't know. Like, I like anime as in like the ones that Disney brought out, like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, stuff like that. I like that stuff. But anime is such a wide array of possibilities. If you just look at like those Star Wars Visions series and all the different anime houses doing their own takes, some of them look incredible to me, and some of them to me look like really wonky and goofy. And so it really kind of depends on where in that range of anime you want to go, on whether or not it would be, because again, we have to remember anything they do has to be palatable to the widest of audiences for it to make money, especially nowadays. Like, no one's going to theaters. So if it's a movie, we can just count that out. But if it's a TV series and a live action one, it's got to be at a broad audience. If it's anime, if it's an animated one, then I don't think it matters as much because the audience is much more narrow just because it's a cartoon. So if they want to do an anime cartoon version of it, I would be open to it 100%. I just want to make sure that it visually reflects the style of Dragonlance that we've been presented with over the years. You know what I mean? That sort of Elmore, Stowicki, Parkinson style. You got to be like Freer and the Animators, the beautiful and scenic fantasy themes. It'd be cool. I think it'd be awesome. What would you think if they did a full cast audiobook of the original books like they did with the Harry Potter books? Oh, wow. That would be great because I don't know from firsthand account, but I've heard the current audiobooks suck for the Chronicles. I don't know for sure, but I think it would be great if you got some big names in there to do some really great voiceover work. The names would draw people to it, hence money making there. And then if it's just done well, then of course I would buy it. I've owned multiple copies of the physical book and digitally, I like the Kindle versions, for example. I would definitely buy the audiobook too if it was like a radio play production. Hell yeah. That'd be dope. I'd like that a lot. Yeah, if it was a series, how many episodes per book? And then are we talking about weaving in the Lost Chronicles information too, so that it's more of a clear narrative arc, so we don't have like cuts in time? Or do we break each book into like a season? Each novel into a season, and then the gaps between them don't matter as much because you can have like a monologue at the beginning explaining what happened in the Lost Chronicles content that would then, make more sense when you watch that season. I would really like it to be very much like broken up as the modules and use the modules as the guides rather than using the novels as the guides, because the novels are cut up and choppy and they miss a whole lot of information that exists in the actual modules that's much more epic, like the possibility of Huma Dragonbane coming back. That's huge, and that's in the modules. Paladine, rather than Ebonstone, or the Everman, Barum Everman, rather than him being the one that is needed to close the gate, it's Paladine, and he comes in and does it. That's another option for the actual game products rather than the novels. So I think it would be really good if it was the novels as a season. Again, I just think use the modules as a reference. That means we could do, if we do one module per season, that means we really get to sit and live with the characters. And when you have those episodic sort of cliffhanger moments, they're really, really great ones. Like, for example, the first episode of the first season could very easily just be them getting run out of town. And then you end with them crossing Crystalmere Lake with all of the arrows coming at them from all the goblins chasing them. And that's heightened tension. You don't know what's going to happen, whether they're going to drown or not. You got Flint grumbling about being in a boat in the first place. You cut that first episode right there. And that would be a great way of not only extending the life of each season so that you can actually have multiple seasons, because one book covers like 3 or 4 different seasons. I think that would be the best way to do it. And then you have like over like a dozen seasons of this amazing series. And if it does really, really well, have a spin-off of the Legends. So that you have Chronicles and then you have the Legends series. I would want them disconnected because they do have very different tones as series is concerned. I don't think you could take the same tone of the Chronicles, which is much more D&D, and then throw it over that same D&D tone to Legends, which is much more romance, drama, time traveling. It's just a totally different vibe than an active dungeon crawling overland adventure. You know what I mean? And you have to know the characters in Legend to sit through those long moments where it's just like Chrysania throwing herself at Raceland and he's rejecting her and she's bawling her eyes out. And then Caraman comes up and comforts her and Caraman starts realizing that he actually wants to have sex with Chrysania, but he does, he's sort of actually entertaining it because he doesn't think he'll ever get back to Tika again. And like all sorts of things like that, where it's really deep, complex, emotional moments. I want to be able to live in it and care about it. But the only way you can do that is if you see the Chronicles first and you understand who Raceland and Caraman are. Because otherwise, who's this weird, sick mage? Why is he all sick and weird? You'd have to do tons of monologue or, flashbacks to explain it. Because it just wouldn't really land for me. Anyway, I don't think. Cliffhangers are part of what made the Justice League cartoon feel so awesome. Plenty of the stories were told in episodes that spanned 1 to 3. Yeah, I think that'd be great. And with everything that happens in the modules and in the novels, like you could very well easily do a cliffhanger each episode. And if not a cliffhanger each episode, then those dramatic moments of reflection so that the weight of what has happened and what is to come really is allowed to be sort of put on display, as it were. You know what I mean? After they get to Crystalmere Lake, then they're going to be going to Haven. Then, just the road to Haven and the, let's see, you would want to have the sort of first 15-minute conflict be with the Draconians that come over as clerics to be healed. And then the Draconians are revealed and there's a big like, oh my gosh, what's this new creature thing? And then they like deviate into Prayer's Eye Peak area with the Darkenwood. And then once they get into Darkenwood and see the dead start rising, cut it right there. And that's episode 2. And then episode 3, they would be like inside Darkenwood, sort of crawling around. And the end of that episode could be them flying off on Pegasus over to Zaxxaroth's area, over the Forbidden Mountain Range. I think that would be really good too. Like throw out some ideas with me, people. Like, what are you thinking? As far as episodic goes. And we're not even through the first book, and we've got 3 episodes already, Like the first book of the first novel, how they're broken up into like 3 books, as it were, like 3 arcs. Because and in the modules, you can actually go into Haven. And you go into Haven, and you meet the Seeker Council, and it's like this whole big to-do. They could mix that in as well, where they get to Haven, they realize that the Seekers are just as shady as they suspected they were, and working backdoor deals with the dragon armies, and that causes them to flee, which then puts them into Darkenwood, so that we get the full arc of them overland traveling, seeing the devastation that the refugees' migration because of the dragon army's invasion has caused, and just seeing the pain and war-torn land all around them to really put us into the moment of what's happening, to really understand the disparity. And this is a war that's going on that no one knows about, because of course they don't have telephones or cell phones or anything like that. And so it's all speculation and rumor. So they get to Haven. We could even end the second episode in Haven and then pick it up. And they feel like it's a moment of peace and happiness. They're going to find support they need from the dragon army. And then we pick up the second episode in Haven where they're run out after they've done like a bunch of, sort of like adventuring and exploring in Haven and meeting the Seekers in the council and stuff. Maybe Gold Moon is abducted because of the staff and brought before the council. And then they realize how bad the council, they have to fight their way out of the council, jump in a boat, go down the White Raging River, and then come up on shore as a crash, and that's where we cut. And then the fourth episode would be, or no, that was the second, third, and then the fourth episode would then be Darkenwood. And then you get to the fifth episode is them actually traveling the swamp and going into the first area of Zaxxaroth and having Chrysanth come out of that well and cast darkness. And that would be a great cliffhanger because you're like, whoa, what happened here? So there's just so many great cliffhanging moments that you could have episodically and still have tons of episodes just with the first book of the first novel. Oh, it would be so awesome. Yeah, I want it so bad too, man. I would have so much fun with this, just scripting it out with someone. And that's what drives me nuts, so nuts. Oh man, what is his name? The guy who did Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds did a whole bunch of stuff for Deadwood, took it to the studio, and they rejected it and said, we're not going to release this. And so he leaked some of the information, and the fan backlash from it being leaked and canceled was so great that the studio let him make Deadpool. And it ended up being a huge success. Why hasn't Joe Manganiello leaked the script? If it's as good as he says it is, leak it. Let us all see it so we can make a huge, massive fan backlash against Hasbro for not greenlighting it, and then show them that there's an audience for it, and then we can finally get it made. But if you just sit on it because you're just protecting your art and I want to make it on my terms, it may never get made. And if we don't see it, we don't know if it's actually good or not. All we know is you said it's good and you said other people say it's good. I mean, come on. That's not the same. It's totally different. Let us judge. Let the audience that would be watching it judge whether the pilot is good or not as far as the script goes. And then you could have like fan casting sessions and then fan performances. And then finally, there's so much to do about it that you get either indie people making it or you get, big corporate backing start to get interested and come in to make it. And I understand why he doesn't, because he doesn't own the IP. And so he can't, I don't think that you can, it would just be like a fan script. But then I don't know that they would keep a fan script if it's an unlicensed script. You know what I mean? He was paid to make the script originally when they rejected it. So I guess they own the script. So it would have to be like a leak, which he could be legally liable for if he did leak it. Unless there was a big enough backlash about it that Hasbro just doesn't want to sue him because they see that there's money there to be made. And that's what it all comes down to. We have to be honest with ourselves. Whether something is made or not made, it's always about money. It is not about the fans. The only reason why the fans are involved is because they represent money. That's it. It's cold. And it's a horrible way to see it, but that's how corporations see it. They don't care about our emotional resonance with the material. They don't care about the material. They care about money. So, yeah, I think it would make a lot of money no matter what. If it was horrible, it would make a lot of money. So I just don't see a downside to it, Now, if, let's say, they did greenlight either an animated series or a live action series, but let's just say there's a series there and it's going to be released. Where do you want it to be released? Is this Prime Video? Is this Netflix? Is it Disney Plus? Is it HBO? Where do you think, is it the sci-fi? Is the Sci-Fi Channel still a thing anymore? I don't even know. Where would it live? Because there's a understanding of the streaming channel that would then have, each streaming channel has its own sort of audience built in. And so you would want to go where the biggest audience possibly is. We have in that image, in this image right here. Can I just open this up large? Why can't I zoom into that? That's annoying. Oh, here, I'll just do this. That doesn't even zoom it in. You son of a gun. All right, what are you going to do? I could have swore that's like Mickey Mouse on there, right? On his shirt, like as a monogram. So maybe it's Disney, Disney Plus. If it's Disney Plus, is it a live action? Because we've seen the Marvel TV series and the Star Wars TV series, and that's the live action route. They probably would end up using the volume if it's Disney, which means you can get a lot more. It feels more claustrophobic when you're filming it for sure, but it is cheaper to make it that way. And so would you rather have a cheaper version that's released at a faster rate, or would you rather have a high production value of like on location series where it is more spaced out because there's more money and time that goes into it? What do you think? You'd say HBO or Paramount? I would like HBO because they have a track record, with House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I feel like this would be a perfect fit. The gritty, war-torn era, they would have a built-in audience for that. That's already going to get HBO for that type of content. But you also have channels like Stars, which I think it's Stars, that has a bunch of historical dramas, which is very, medieval fantasy visual, even though it's real history, dramatized real history. And so that's a built-in audience for fantasy as well, I think. So I don't know. Yeah, I would say, first of all, Mel's, thanks for tuning in. Make it animation at least. Yeah, let's do something. Just something. Make Hasbro should release a Dragonlance Magic the Gathering set. I thought, it was the D&D one, right? Or like a Marvel. They have like tons of them. A Dragonlance one would be cool. I would end up just buying it. Not playing it at all because I don't play Magic the Gathering, but I would definitely buy it. The fans are definitely hungry for anything. Now, here's the other side of it. Hey, Skullcap, how you doing, man? So the other side, we talked about what if it's a video or a film or something. What if it's just a game product? Because Joe Manganiello has been a supporter of the Kickstarter of the Sky Raiders of Abraxas or whatever it is that Tracy Hickman released for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So if he's just coming in as a supporter of a gaming project, as far as Dragonlance, would you want a rehash of the Chronicles in the new 2024 edition of the game? Or would you want them to do something that hasn't been done yet? And I want to make an argument that I would not. We've already seen a War of the Lands era game product come out of WotC in Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and it was not great. They completely changed lore, they completely changed races and classes and everything. They did it for the game system rather than for the campaign setting, and that's the problem. So I don't want to see another War of the Lands era game product come from this union if it is a game product. So that's where we're speculating right now, right? If it's a game product, let's go to the Age of Might. Their book series they're releasing right now is about the Age of Might. And you have so much time. The Age of Might is thousands of years old. So if you just did the Age of Might, the Age of Dragons, then, what is that called? The Age of, no, it's the Age of Knights. It's the Age of Might in the Time of Knights is how it's phrased, I believe. So the Time of Knights meaning when the Knights of Solamnia have been formed by Vinus Solamnus, and you sort of include at the end of it is Istar and then the Cataclysm. So if they're going to do a game product, what if they do it during the Age of Might? And we're talking based around the Third Dragon War. So they would build out all of the setting information for the era, much like Dragonlance Nexus put out some product about that recently as well. They could build out all the game product for that era. And back then, all the scions were gone, but you still do have sorcery. So you could still, the power of the planet is still there. So you could still sort of play with that if you really wanted to bring in the other classes and stuff and make it work. but I think the fifth Dragon War would be the ideal time. And if it's not the third Dragon War, and if it's not the third Dragon War in the Age of Might in the Time of Nights, then I would say the King Priest of Istar era, because there's some storytelling that's been done there that's great and ideal for gaming products. And we have a little bit of it already. So you could deal with the Knights of Solamnia, you could deal with the Knights of the Divine Hammer, you could deal with Istar itself and the King Priest, and how all good is being sort of tormenting and hunting all bad and trying to exterminate races and entire groups of people. That's an era ripe for storytelling as far as role-playing games are concerned. And it's similar enough and different enough that it connects directly with Legends. And it also connects with the Age of Despair because of the Cataclysm. And so you could have all the information set up and then release like episode arcs of adventures. Maybe it's like 4 or 5 or 6 different adventures over the course of like 3 years. And then have the final one about the Cataclysm and surviving the Cataclysm. And how the events of the Cataclysm affect different regions as far as role-playing games are concerned. And then have, a couple short adventure hooks that you could form a campaign around or include into your campaign about that. And if you set it during this time, you could also do the destruction of the Towers of High Sorcery, where you've got people traveling all the way to Daltagoth and then all the way to Losarkam. And then... that's like module heavy content where you could have some, you're trying to take over or you're trying to defend the Towers of High Sorcery. Losarkam is the one that gets exploded. I think that other one does too, I think actually. One was destroyed from outside and one within, if memory serves. I don't know. It's been a minute, but in any case, that would be a lot of fun too. Because there's so many main events that happen within that King Priest of Istar era that you could have tons of different factions, all sorts of underworld type stuff for criminal syndicates and smuggling and piracy. And you would have all sorts of stuff for knighthoods and sort of rival orders, a whole bunch of religious aspects and Sylvanesti sort of becoming split from Istar. You would have to deal with what's not really talked about a lot is the dwarves and how they were actually ostracized first because of these trade disputes and money disputes with Istar. And they were sort of seen as lesser races, than the humans in Istar. And so you could do a whole thing with all the different races for gaming products to really flesh out this era and be hyper specific. This is just in this era. And then you could do extra gaming products where this is Dragonlance in the Age of Might in the Time of Nights. But this next supplement that's coming out in 4 years after we've exhausted all the material from the Age of Might and the Time of Nights, let's go to the end of the Age of Mortals, where I'm running my Tyranny of Dragons campaign right now. And it's all about the elves trying to retake their homeland of Sylvanesti, which is now called Ambien because the Minotaur Empire took it over. Or it could be the Minotaur Empire sweeping across Ansalon, kicking ass and taking names, and the whole setting is you trying to defend against that seemingly insurmountable threat of the coming. I mean, I think that would be a really great gaming series of products too. It would be, again, faithful to Dragonlance lore. It would connect with fans of the War of the Lance era, because it's still the same. The gods are around, magic is around, and all different types of magic, which then coincide with the gaming products, the game system itself, as it were. I just think you could do a lot of really cool stuff in that time. Rogue orders, yeah. You'd love some fresh stuff on the magic system of Krynn or on the rise of warlocks in Krynn, the way that he fits the lore. Yeah, I would love to see that stuff. I just don't know if they'll... That's what I'm afraid of. They're gonna have this picture, and then we're all just pining for something to come, and then there's a fallout, and then nothing comes, and it's a big fart, and you don't even smell it. It's just gone in the wind. And then what the hell is this all for? I could totally see that happening. The way that Wizards of the Coast changes their leadership and Hasbro changes their leadership, I have zero faith in anything that they're doing at all. I really think that they've completely forsook the core audience of Dungeons and Dragons, and they're trying to cater to a new potential audience, again, that I don't think exists. You're going to get theater people, actors, and thespians playing it, which is going to draw eyes for a couple minutes, but anyone who is in acting in any semblance, whether it's play or stage or TV or films, role playing is right up their alley. So of course they're going to like it. So it's not surprising when you see a famous actor like, oh, I've never done Dungeons and Dragons before, but I loved it. It was amazing. Yeah, because it's what you do for a living. Like, what are you doing? It's not a big surprise. And simply because a big name actor likes playing it doesn't mean that everyone's going to sit around watching that big name actor for 4 hours playing in an improv session. Unless you're already into D&D, which you're already then watching stuff or playing it, you're not going to then suddenly turn up because, I don't know, Gillian Anderson decides to sit in for a session, or for a campaign. You're going to check it out for a minute and be like, wow, this battle's taking a long time. I'm going to go check out something else. Because our time spans, our attention spans have shortened so quickly thanks to technology. Like, I just couldn't see anyone caring that's not already playing the game, which means that if that's the attention grab that Dungeons and Dragons seems to be trying to do, it's not going to change the downward spiral until it gets to that very core group that's always been playing it from the beginning. People like me, like the super weird nerdy guys that just love D&D because we love fantasy and it's just something that we grew up playing. So we want to continue playing it. And you're not going to sell me a bunch of your new products because I don't even like the modern editions. Like, I'll buy core rules so that I can run the game for players that want to play those new campaigns or something. But my bread and butter is AD&D. So I don't need to buy any gaming products at all. The only reason why I would even buy a Dragonlance gaming product is if it existed, to be fair. I was going to say if it was good, but that's not true. If it's Dragonlance, I'll buy it because I'm like a drug addict when it comes to Dragonlance. Yes, spike that vein. I will infuse Dragonlance into me at any orifice at any time. And if people start seeing, then I'll start going between my toes with the Dragonlance. I don't know where else people stick it when they want to hide it, but where do you stick your Dragonlance? Oy. So I really want to see game products. So I like that idea. I would love to see a series because I would love to buy once the series is done its run and they have the special edition packaging with all of the extra added bonus features. Oh, I would love that. I would put it on a shelf right next to me so I'd always watch it. Then I would buy the digital version of it so I'd never had to open the physical collection. I could just stare at it and just be happy with all of the memories. Dude, I want to do it so bad. I still rewatch shows like Sopranos and Game of Thrones and, what was I just watching? Deadwood. I rewatched Deadwood like 80 times already. I love it. Like, why would you not rewatch a Dragonlance series? Regardless of how good or bad it is, you would definitely rewatch it. Even if it was bad, you would probably rewatch it more just to get together with people to mock it. And if it was good, it would just be you with your tub of popcorn, just loving life with Dragonlance on the big screen. It'd be so awesome. Yeah, give me my fix. You watch Kung Fu, the original yearly. Kung Fu? You mean like the old one? Like the series? With David Carradine, I think? Is that it? I watched that when I was a kid. All right. Wow. I remember watching that with my dad. That was one of those, it was that and Battlestar Galactica. We would watch together. Well, to be fair, any sci-fi or fantasy movie as well. like Enemy Mine. I feel like I watched The Last Starfighter and Enemy Mine way more than I watched like almost anything else, really, except for like Star Wars. I watched that more than anything. But hey, Adam, how you doing? You made it from Australia. Whoop! How's the weather in the area you are in Australia? You don't know how many times you've watched Supernatural. I've never watched Supernatural. Is it good? Well, it must be good if you watched it a lot. Supernatural. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that at all. Hey, Mayonnaisium. Great name. Thanks for tuning in. Mayonnaisium. It's pretty awesome. All right. That's up there. Like, I like Skull Cowboy because that's a great name. Giggles the Clown is great because it's terrifying. And then Mayonnaisium is great. Mine is like DL Saga. That's boring. Mine should be like Delicious Saga. I don't know. Stupid like that. All right. So look, give me a setting book in the original, I'm sorry, the old edition, or whoa. Now I know that they did like they re-released the Chronicles gaming product modules with every edition, and up until recently anyway, and they repackage it and change it and stuff. What a few years back, it was actually a number of years back, West End Games, and it wasn't even West End Games, it was the current licensee holders. They released the original West End Games Star Wars D6 in a collector's set book sleeve. So it was the original D6 West End Games game of Star Wars, which no one plays because it's like a very hard version of AD&D, like a hard version of AD&D to play. But everyone loved it because it was Star Wars. And so we played the shit out of it, even though the mechanics of it were brutal as hell and just sort of like a little out of whack. But they released the collector's edition of the original releases. What if we got all the original materials, scanned them all together, and got hardcover editions of the original 16 DL modules? The first, I think it's 13 or 12 of them, I think it's ultimately 12 of them, are the War of the Lance ones. And then you have the source book of DL5, the tabletop game of DL, I think it's 11, the sort of, what is that called? It's not the battle system, it's the, it's slipping my mind. Anyway, it's DL11, I think. But they have all of the different editions. I'm sorry, not editions, but the original edition in its best quality with high-res maps, like everything redone and touched up and rescanned and done perfectly as like top-notch edition. Like I would prefer a physical release like that from modern WotC, which has nothing to do with their existing gaming products, but which they don't know if that would sell or not because they already saw their own Dragonlance gaming product tank. But they know that there's an audience that loves the original Dragonlance. And so if they re-released it all in one beautiful collective set, I would definitely pay out top dollar for that. You know, I mean, who cares if it doesn't fit with the current edition? We could still play in the old editions, but we would just have the best versions of it. So if you're a wonderful collector that's already got the originals in the original modules, this would be like having that, plus it's a modern format of presentation. So you've got embossing and spot coating and, just everything to make the texture of it to make it worth the money. And then, Hasbro makes a bunch of money from it. And then we get like this amazing product from it. Yeah, Skull Cowboy, I actually ran a game on my Star Wars channel with that West End Games version of the game. I played the hell of a lot of it when I was younger. Like a hell of a lot of it. Dragons of Glory, thank you. Oh my gosh, it was on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't get it out there. Right there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful print, and I love having it on the wall. Oh, see? And, Star Wars does all that with their lightsabers, and there's bazillions of different lightsabers. Harry Potter's got it with their wands, and there's a bazillion different wands. Give us some staffs from history. Give us some replicas, because Staff of Magus would be amazing. You could have the kids version where, little kids go around and it has a little light. They say Shirak hit the button and the claw crystal glows. Have like sound effects for different spells that you could do with it for the kids, and then have like a premium like adult version that's like handcrafted in 8 times the price or 10 times the price or something, where it's just this beautiful, like those replicas of swords and stuff that you see in magazines. It's like that, like super high quality, because that would be dope. You could do like, if Fizban had a staff, what would it look like? If Parsalian's staff, Dalamar, if he had a staff, what would it be like? The King Priest, if he had a staff, what would it look like? It doesn't have to be, oh, they've always had this. It's just like, well, what would it be? And then you could do themed like, this is what Caramin's sword is, or Caramin's famous helmet. For, like people love buying masks of Darth Vader and stuff like that. Like just Verminard's dragon mask. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And then you get the special edition Blue Ladies, the dragon mask. Yes, that would be dope. Tasselhoff's hoop pack. Jason, thanks for tuning in. That would be great. Oh my gosh, I would love that. Graphite Dragon, thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, for the kids. Yeah, I'm the guy with like literally a lightsaber on my wall, so I would definitely buy it. Definitely. There's just so much money they can make off this that they're not. There's such a huge audience. I mean, the bare minimum would be to have more authors making more Dragonlance novels, or to put those Dragonlance novels that are not already in Audible or Kindle into Audible or Kindle, so that you can, get every one of the novels in any format you want, or for the fans, in all of the formats. Have special editions like they did the annotated chronicles and legends. Have annotated collections of like the big, trilogies that people love, like the Elven Nations trilogy and the King Priest trilogy, where the authors go in and just share their thoughts about little things. And maybe have some artists go in and do like little quick sketches, famous artists that are sort of germane to the Dragonlance IP. And they could do like quick little workups, or put in, prints that, you could sort of buy like a collection of posters from it and stuff. Like there's just so much. You use lightsabers in your dojo for special class. Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be kind of cool. All right. So if it's not gaming stuff, I want to kind of go back. Let's just say they want to test their toes with a film. Okay. So let's just say Hasbro doesn't want to pay for a series, but they're willing to do a standalone film. And on the basis of that standalone film, they'll decide whether to do more films, or they'll decide to put forth the money to the series, because the series is much more money over the span of its life than a single film, right? So let's say they're like, all right, there's a built-in audience for Dragonlance. We're going to do a film. What do we think the film should be about? Because I don't want it to be, if there's a promise of there possibly being a second film or a series that comes out of the film, I don't want it to tell a full story. And I don't want it such a large scope of a story squished into 2 hours, right? So what part of the story would you want to start with as a film if it then extrapolated to a series? What if, and it could be straight to streaming film. Dragonlance video game like Baldur's Gate would be cool. Like I've seen screenshots. I have never played it, but I've seen the screenshots and they look awesome. So I think that'd be awesome. And just flying dragons in a video game, having dragon battles in a video game. Yes, please. You think an animated series would work best? I think you're right, Soulforge. In the end, I think that's probably the best way of doing it. But I'm just sort of extrapolating here. Actually, you know what? It's been an hour. I should probably stop. I could clearly do this for hours on end, but at some point I have to stop. All right, that's gonna do it. That's all the time we have today for a hangout. I'm trying to keep these around an hour. What do you think of these hangouts? Should we have a more subject structured show or just sort of riff like this? And should I have a bunch of people on here with me, including maybe you watching if you want to do it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. You can also email me at info@dlsaga.com. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. And if you appreciate the products I produce, I have a Patreon and YouTube membership. I would really appreciate if you considered joining one of them. Thank you to creator patron Aaron Hardy and developer patron Chris Androu. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I hope you'll join in that celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, Slanjavar.